Every day is a good day. There is something to learn, care, and celebrate. Welcome to our institution of Global Professional to International webinar. Thank you all for joining with us in this marvelous session. Dear participants, I am Kamrul, coordinator of IGP from Bangladesh. Once again, thank you again all for joining with us, and I hope you stay with us till the program ends. And time to time, you like our Facebook page and subscribe our YouTube channel. And don't forget to tag mention your friends in the comment box. And I request everyone to share this webinar in your newsfeed and social media. Before we have completed our 791 webinar successfully, now I will be presenting webinar number 792, and the topic is technology in teaching literature. Today we have a speaker from Indonesia. Today our speaker name is Rizka Sapriani. She is assistant professor of UI and Sunan Ampel Surabaya from Indonesia. She is also executive editor of Indonesian Journal of English Teaching and reviewer of Journal of Pragmatic Research. Let's we welcome our today's speaker in the screen. Hello,
Good,
ma'am.
hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Good
afternoon,
afternoon.
ma'am.
Okay, how are you? Thank you for introducing me.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, before starting the program, I request to share your screen and give a short description about yourself.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Well, today we will welcome you to our session. We would like to share about some information about technology in teaching literature. Let me introduce myself. My name is Rizka Safriani from the State Islamic University of Sunan Ampel, Surabaya, Indonesia. I'm from the English Language Education Department. And for today's session, we will share some idea and practices about technology in teaching literature. And there will be some mini exercises that we will have this afternoon, and hopefully you will enjoy the presentation. Thank you. Back to the moderator. Could I start my presentation now?
Yes, ma'am. You can start your presentation.
Thank
Share
you.
your screen,
Okay.
please, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Hold a second. I will share my screen. Okay, can everybody see my screen for now?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, ma'am.
thank you very much. Okay, so good
Thank you.
afternoon, everyone. Well, welcome to this session about technology in teaching English literature. So I will share some ideas and practices about the use of technology in teaching English literature. Okay, so before we talk about technology in literature, we need to introduce you with literature. So, what is literature? So, if we look at some definition, Moody defines literature as the construction or artifact in language which may be designed for any whole range of human communication needs, private or public, oral or written, or for which language is used. And another definition states that literature is a work of art that seeks to please the person who made it and the person who attend to it. So we can define that literature is something that can offer pleasure. Sometimes it can be an artwork, but also it will provide information about human communication need. So why we need to teach literature, particularly in language teaching? Because when we teach literature, it can promote students' language development. It can take literature and literary text as an authentic locus from which to study vocabulary items and structural aspects of the language. We can get the real model of language from literary works. So that's why teaching literature is very important, particularly in language educations. Moreover, literature is also able to promote students' understanding and the appreciation of cultures. We can learn about different culture through reading the literary works. For example, if we are learning about English literature, we can study how English person may have different cultures, just like Asian cultures. So in this way, we can use literature as a part of cross-cultural courses. We do see that teaching literature is critical and give us a lot of benefit. But when we try to put literature in education, we can put some ideas that literature in education is aimed to develop the potential of the student in a holistic, balanced, and integrated manner, encompassing the intellectual, spiritual, emotional, and physical aspect in order to create a balanced and harmonious human being with high social standards. If we look at the content, the value embedded in the literary works, we can develop our student as a holistic person. We can put some emphasis on the importance of affective factors instead of focusing on cognitive and psychomotoric aspect of teaching. We do also able to promote the affective factors with that issue, with that effort. The use of literature in education could balance and integrate all aspects which can develop a student as a good and authentic learner. In order to bring that ideal potential, Carter and Long provided three models in teaching of literature. The first model is cultural model, the second model is the language model, and then the third model is the personal growth model. If we look at the cultural model, teaching literature may be promoted in the cultural model. With this model, teacher could serve the traditional approach to use literary text in EFL classroom. By using cultural models, teachers could encourage students to discover and analyze the social, the literary, and the historical element of the text. Teachers also able to reveal the specific thought and perspective so the student can be more familiar with various culture and ideologies. For example, if we read about Cinderella, There is a culture of attending party, which may be different from ASEAN culture when they were invited to a party. There are some aspects of culture and ideologies that can be discussed critically by our students, and we can make the class alive by doing cross-cultural model. With that, design students will be engaged with the discussion so that they could enjoy more reading the literary works. In cultural model, the literature and the teachers are the sources of the information. As a learner of English, particularly in the foreign language context, not all students have the opportunity to get an exposure of the authentic materials. Therefore, literary works and the teacher mainly become the sources of information. We require intensive reading as the purpose to obtain new information based on the literature. With this model, teacher will transmit knowledge to support students in understanding the social, literary, and the historical element of the text. And the type of activities that can be promoted in applying cultural-based model is lectures. We can also have explanation, reading of notes, and criticism provided in workbooks or by the teacher. Now we will move to the second model of teaching literature. We can have language-based model where this approach can help students to examine the text in a more systematic and methodological way. We can integrate between the language element and the literature. We can have stylistics, for example, to develop the linguistics aspect that we can discuss within the literary works. Literature is used as a resource to improve the student's language proficiency. If we apply language-based model, it will help students to focus their attention on the way how the language is used. And we do believe that if we apply language-based model, it tends to be more learner-centered. When we look at the language-based model, we can see that rather than studying the literature for the purpose of acquiring the information, literature can be used as a resource for language practice through a series of language activities. For example, if we read poetry, there are some natural language, natural expressions that they may not be familiar with. The use of figurative language that can be promoted to the students actually will be a good model of language practice. By doing a language based model, we can also promote the fluency and also accuracy activities by reading from literary works. Language based model also enables students to access a text in a more systematic and methodical manner, such as literal and figurative language. It also helps us to promote direct and indirect speech since we can easily find indirect speech within the literary works. Language-based model also can be used as the way language is more concerned, resulting in students' language awareness. And some activities that we can use when we apply language-based model is a close procedure, prediction exercises, jumble sentence, and role play, as well as creative writing. The last model that we can use in teaching literature is a personal growth model, where this model is the bridge between the cultural model and the language model. It concentrates on the use of language in the literary text within their cultural context. Students are tend to express their ideas and feeling about their personal experience and cultural knowledge in relation to the specific literary text. We can try to put our students into their real experience, their personal experience, and their cultural knowledge, and we do compare and contrast. With that activities, students would get a personal engagement with the reading, with the information presented in the literary text, because it's closely related to what they had experienced in the past time. In a personal growth model, the text is a stimulant for the student to relate their experience to the discussed issue, so that the students are able to share their feeling with the class and encourage productive language skills. The development of literary competence and also language competence may be resulted from the personal growth model, because it involves the process of the literary competence development as well as the language competence development. This model is also aimed to infuse a continuous love and appreciation of the literary text, since we do believe that if the student engage to the reading experience, they will get the pleasure and the personal fulfillment within the learning of literature. If we try to look at the position or the idea about literature in English as a foreign language teaching, there are three big points that we can discuss further before we go to the technology to teach the literary works. First, we need to have a look on some issue that we can discuss in literature. There are intercultural awareness issue. There are also gender awareness issue. We can also have a look on the method or strategies that we can use in using literature in EFL. We may also discuss about the assessment and the curriculum in teaching literature. So a discussion about literature in EFL is widely exposed, and we can put some concern about these three big issues instead of focusing on the three model of teaching that we have discussed previously. There are some method or strategies that we can use in teaching literature. We can have book club. We can also have literature circle. We can have APF or C method. We can also have electronic teaching method for teaching literature. So what are they? So let's start with a short overview about book clubs. When we talk about book clubs will have some aspect that need to be considered when we want to have this activity in teaching literature. First, we can have a look on the participant. if we want to have book clubs, we need to make sure that the student have high reading level. In terms of the timelines, we usually make it as a monthly meeting, and the purpose of a book club commonly used to do a critical reading, so we can critically analyze the content. And then when we want to look at the variant, we can have a look on the specific literary genre, particularly on the author, the period, or the topic. And if we want to have a book club in our classroom, the coordinator should be an expert because they need to choose a good reading text for the students, and the moderation will be based on the style of the coordinator. We can have all kind of books, and the selection can be chosen by the coordinator. One of the suggestions that will be promoted, if you want to have book clubs, you can have extensive reading central as the resources. On that website, we can choose any books for free, and there will be some informations that we can use as a consideration to choose the reading level. The literature circle is another strategy that we can have if we want to teach literature. In a circle, there will be some role descriptor. So we put some student with a different role. There will be a discussion directors. There will be a literary luminary. There will be an illustrator. There will be a connector. There will be a summarizer. There will be a vocabulary enricher, and also a travel tracer, as well as the investigator. So if we put the student in a literature circle, we give the student different role description, and each student will have a responsibility to report the works. For example, a student who have a task as a discussion director will develop a list of questions that will facilitate group conversation, while the other student will have a different task. For example, a summarizer. The student, as a summarizer, need to prepare a brief summary of the day's reading. In this description, we can put some elaboration on the task that we can give to the students. We can choose different tasks for different students based on their need and also their willingness to choose. If they choose their own role, the engagement process within the teaching and learning will be higher since they have chosen their own responsibility. With this strategy, literature circle, we do believe that the literary works can be discussed intensively with different role and make sure that all the students will be engaged to the text as well as to the teaching and learning process. Now we go to the next method. This is the common method that are used by teacher in teaching literature. We have audio visual method. We do also have project method. We do also have field research method and also creative writing method. When we talk about technology in teaching literature, in the past time, most audio visual methods still use slide, transparencies, film, VCD, and DVD. But in modern era, we can also use online slide, for example, Canva and also another platform, Google Slides, that can be adapted for teaching literature. For the project method, scrapbook making, yeah, we can also use some website that provide free scrapbook maker. We can also ask the student to make literary map by using some graphic organizer or online mind mapping, timeline, or we can also ask the student to record their script and their drama. Author interview is also a nice project. And the last method, we can have journal writings. We can also have a writing workshop. And the last method is electronic teaching method, where it commonly focus on two big area. The first area is broadcasting, where the teacher will deliver the content or the resources, including digital library resources and material on DVD or CD-ROM, while the second model is a communicating model in online dialogue, which include email, discussion lists, computer-mediated communication, for the purpose of discussion and collaborative learning. If we look at the last slide, electronic teaching method, we will start to realize that technology sounds very critical in applying the teaching, particularly teaching literature, and there will be some major reasons why teaching using technology in teaching literature is important, because technology can provide a direct responses and it's engaging. Students also can become the creators of the content. Students can also reinforce the six competence of 21st century learning. So by using technology, we can promote at least three benefit for the students: the engagement, the creativity, and also the learning experience. And if we go on to the type of digital technology based on its communicative function, there are some category of digital technology. The first category is about the synchronous learning, where we can have video conferencing, we can have web conferencing, audio conferencing, live chat, whiteboarding, and application sharing. So, what is a video conferencing? Video conferencing means we have a real-time interaction, just like now. We can seeing the persons that you are communicating. We can give important visual clues, but there will be some limitation of a video conference. The quality usually will be depend on the bandwidth of the internet. Sometimes there will be short time lag between speaking and receiving a response that can disrupt the flow of the conversations. And usually the documents and the other presentation can be only shared through the presenter's camera. Those are the limitation of video conferencing. How about the web conferencing? Web conferencing is good because it also provides us with real-time interaction. It can permit sharing of presentation, document, and application demonstrations. But again, the quality is depending on the bandwidth, and there usually a similar case or similar limitation, just like video conferencing. If we cannot have video conferencing and also web conferencing, we may choose audio conferencing. We can have collaborative discussions that involve certain number of people. But again, the quality is always related to the bandwidth, and then the possibility of short time lag between speaking and receiving a response. But we do also realize that audio conferencing do not incorporate visual learning, and not all students are become an auditory learner. In that way, audio conferencing may be good for an auditory learner, but not really accommodate the visual learner. And live chat. So what about live chat? Live chat is also good. It's a good technology in asynchronous learning. It provides real-time interaction. It can have text and graphic capabilities, which are available for information sharing of low complexities. It also provides documentation of student interactions. But if we have live chat, usually mostly text are based and slow down the communication rate. Not all students may respond directly of the live chat. Sometimes there will be some delay or slow down of communication rate. There will be also an opportunity to have a misinterpretation of instruction as well as expressions. Those are the weaknesses of live chat. And then, how about whiteboarding? So, whiteboarding is a real time interaction where we can have demonstration and co development of ideas. Similar to the previous activities, it also a bandwidth based activities, and it also at times effective with audio conferencing, because if we just have whiteboarding without audio conferencings, again the student probably have got difficulties in understanding the content presented on the whiteboarding. And the application sharing is also slightly similar to the previous type of activities. We have real-time interaction. We also demonstrate and develop the document. It also a bandwidth-based activities, and we do see some possible problems in terms of uh, time responses. Because if we have whiteboarding, we have live chat, we have application sharing, there will be an opportunity to have a delay response as well as misinterpretation of the expressions. The second type of digital technology that is available for teaching is an asynchronous model where we can have discussion forum, we can have web blogs, we can have email messaging, and we can also have social media messaging. So what is a discussion forum? Discussion forum is good because it provides some benefit. In a discussion forum, in a synchronous platform, we can have collaboration and sharing of ideas that can be made over a certain time period. Another benefit that can be promoted by discussion forum, students could have more time for reflection on the topic of discussion, and also it's easy to form and control the level of participation, particularly by the teachers, because we can maintain the engagement of the participants in a discussion forum. But there will be some limitation because it may lead to the misinterpretation of the other people's idea and may take longer to have feedback. The second examples of asynchronous models, we can have weblogs where the dissemination of the ideas, comments, images, and other documents is easy and open to all, and then more time for reflection on the topic of discussion are also the benefit of weblogs. It also provides documentation of student interaction. However, it also has some limitation because it may lead to the misinterpretation of the other people's idea and also require technical knowledge in forming the weblogs because not all students are ready to form or to write their own weblogs. So if you want to apply weblogs for teaching English, particularly teaching literature, you need to make sure that you have introduced the student about how to form the weblogs prior to the activity. Email messaging is also the example of an asynchronous model that we can adapt in teaching English as well as teaching literature, where we can distribute the course material on one-to-one or one-to-many basis privacy in communication. But if we apply email messaging, it's difficult to get instant reply to mail, especially with large classes. The last example of asynchronous model is a social media messaging where we can have message delivery such as important announcement and also group chat. We can also have personal messaging by utilize the teacher for mentoring purposes. We can also provide documentation of student interaction. If the reservoir is not online, student will not have an immediate feedback. That's the weakness of social media messaging. Just like now, for example, if we are teaching with WhatsApp or probably Telegram or another application, social media messaging, not all students can directly give feedback to our instruction and vice versa. Using social media messaging is also difficult to be controlled, particularly for the level of participations. And also, the messages in a group chat cannot be deleted. Sometimes there will be unnecessary comment or statement that cannot be controlled if we can have social media messaging. So, if we look at these type of activities, particularly in a synchronous model as well as in asynchronous model, we have tried to visit some previous studies that have shared the types of technology used in teaching literature. In the last 10 years, there are few studies discuss about the use of technology in teaching literature. The first study is presented by Al Baderne and Al Jarete. They promoted the use of the Internet Shakespeare edition, and the research states that technology method is more efficient and enjoyable than traditional book-based method. Let's have a look on the websites. Hold a second. Okay. Yes. So I have so here, for example, if we go to the Internet Shakespeare edition, you may come to a website which provide you with a huge number collection. The Internet Shakespeare edition give you an opportunity to access a lot of Shakespeare's work. So you can have a look on the play and the poems written by William Shakespeare, and there are some plays that have been completed and published online. S- In this digital era, I do believe that students would enjoy an online learning, an online reading, rather than reading the printed version of Shakespeare. And again, this one is free of access and can be accessed anytime and anywhere. So we can promote these websites to our students. For example, if you are teaching literature and promoting the Shakespeare's work. And there are some also other resources that you can explore from this website. We have some poems, we have some fiction, we have some plays of the Shakespeare, and again, it's easier to be accessed. Now let me go to the other website that may promote interesting activity in teaching literature. We can have foyentools.org. So Foyent Tools is a good website that can help us to determine some corpus and also the reading difficulties as well as the readability of the text. So if you want to have a look on the text that you will choose for the students, you may use these websites to look at the content. Let me take some example here. So suppose I want to copy a story here. So if you choose a text from an extensive reading center, for example, and we want to know whether the text is too easy or too difficult for the student, Foyen is a good choice. So here we may choose any text, for example, and take a paragraph, for example, and then we will check the readability of the text, and it will give us a clue about the tasks that we will give to the students. So here there will be a short report about the vocabulary density, about the readability index and the average word per sentence. And we can also have the summary of the text. What are the most frequent words used in the corpus? With this website, it will give the student an opportunity to identify the density of the vocabulary as well as the readability index. Okay, the third website that can be exposed is the Victorian web. Okay, so if you are teaching literature and you are familiar with the Victorian works, victorianweb.org is also important to be revisited because victorianweb.org provide you with a huge number of collection about the genre, the author, the theme that you will discuss with the students. For example, let's have a look on the author here. So we have many authors in the Victorian web that we may discuss in detail. So it's easily to be accessed as well as we can have a further discussion about their works. For example, we have Charlotte Bronte and we can have her complete introductory materials about the Bronte series. What are the works, the theme, the plot and narrative structure, the genre, mode and style, as well as the imagery and so forth. So this is a very resourceful website for the one who like to teach literature, particularly about the Victorian era. Another website that can be promoted to our teacher is a romantic circles. So similar to the Victorian webs, we do also have romantic circle where it promotes a huge number information about romantic period literature and culture. Similar to the previous website, it also provides us with a huge number of information, particularly about the fiction on the era of romantic era, the author, the fiction, the poetry, as well as the other readings that are relevant for teaching literature, particularly in the Romantic period literature and culture. We still have some here for those who are teaching poetry. We can have a haiku generator as well as a poetry generator here. If we have a poetry generator, we can invite the students to make their own poetry. They can have free verse poetry, they can have quick poem, they can have haiku generator. What they can do is very simple. They just click on the websites and then there will be some clues questions that can be answered, and then in 1 or 2 seconds the website will help the students to create their own poem. So here we can engage the student with different experiments, particularly about developing their own poetry. Okay, so let me back to my website. Uh-oh. Oh my god. Uh-oh. Can you still access mine? Us. Can everybody see my screen?
Dear participants, I think there is a network issue in our speaker's side. So we are waiting for our speaker. After this presentation, we move to our quiz competition, and after that, we move to our Q&A, and finally, we proceed to our certification process. Our speaker already joined with us.
Okay.
Hello,
My
ma'am.
hello, my apology for the internet uh dropped. Okay, so let me go on for the last
Okay.
two. Yes, thank you. So let me share my screen once again. Okay, so I will back to the this slide here. So where we have poetry generator as well as the haiku generator. Uh, Students could make their own poetry. They can make their own free verse poetry. Shouldn't just add some words and adjective or probably some figurative language that they may choose for developing the poetry. Okay, and similar to the poetry generator, we do also have a plot generator. So students could also develop their own short story as well as their movie script and also picture books. For example, we want to have a fairy tale, we can click on the fairy tale, and then later there will be some form that can be answered by the student. For example, if we want to have a superhero story, we can put a name and also we can put some adjective to describe the hero characteristics. And if we want to add some animals, we can put some names there. And then later they can generate the story for the students. This website will be a good clues for the students to develop their own literary compositions. So for a beginner learner, particularly the one who is teaching in secondary education, students sometimes have got difficulties to compose their own fiction, their own poetry. Therefore, the use of plot generator, the use of poetry generator is very important to be introduced so that the students would have an opportunity to get a sample works and they can also develop their own literary works. So let me continue with the presentation. Okay. Yeah, so this one is the plot generator that I have introduced so far. So last but not least, when we sum up for all of the presentation, we can see that the type of the digital technology that are commonly used is a web application. We can have the Victorian website, we can have the Shakespeare, Internet Shakespeare edition, we can also have romantic circles, and also we can work with some generator platforms such as poetry generator and also story generator. We can also work with a comic creator, and we can use social media. Technology in teaching and learning literature can use extensive sources and procedure, and we see that most studies have shown that all of the technology in teaching literature commonly created for the purpose of broadcasting and communicating activities so that the student could improve their performance, motivation, and also engagement in reading activities. Thank you. Back to the moderator.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation about technology in teaching literature. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And now we are proceed to our quiz competition, and after that we come back again with our Q&A session. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, dear participants. Now we are going to our quiz competition. Our quiz code is IGP. Let's we enjoy our quiz video. We are in quiz session time. You can join this quiz session by slido.com, and today our quiz code is IGP. The code is IGP. There is no difference between quiz completion certificate and international webinar certificate. After our Q&A session, we proceed to our certification process. So, dear participants, if you want to join this quiz session, you have to go to slido.com, and after that you have to put the code, and the code is IGP. And also you can scan our QR code from the screen to join this quiz session. Today, top 10 quiz competition winners get their quiz certificate after this session from our official Facebook page. Our Facebook page address is Institute of Global Professionals. Now, 36 participants already joined with us. You can also mention your friends in the comment box. to join this quiz competition. We start our quiz competition after 2 minutes later. Dear participants, we start our quiz competition now, so be ready. Our first question is, in the process of integrating technology in instruction, which of the following is it an engendering meaningful learning or developing metacognition? Option number two, developing metacognition is the right answer. Let's we move to our next question. The question is, technology of theaters and the telephone had the biggest impact on mass culture in 1920s. The statement is true or false? The statement is false. Our next question is, why are people being blinded by technology? Is it because they are in the middle class, entertainment, control, or technology is addictive and people let it be in their work? Option number one, because they are in the mindless entertainment control, is the right answer. Our next question is, how did technology aid the cause of Protestant reformers? Is it by improving the movement of people and goods or by making it easier to publish and spread ideas? Option number two, by making it easier to publish and spread ideas is the right answer. Our next question is, how technology is integrated in the teaching learning process. Is it introduced, reinforced, supplement, and instant skills, or accessing Facebook account? Option number one, introduce, reinforce, supplement, and extend skills is the right answer. Our next question is, promote the effective use of technology in the service of teaching and learning. Is it equity and cultural responsiveness or curriculum instruction and assessment? Option number two, curriculum instruction and assessment is the right answer. Our next question is, the following are the benefits of technology in classroom, except create a more engaged environment or wasting of time. Option number two, wasting of time is the right answer. Our next question is, my digital technology policy in class is students can talk or text whenever they like, or to avoid distraction, the phone must be in their backpack. Option number two, to avoid distraction, the phone must be in their backpack is the right answer. Our next question is, where can technology integration occur in a lesson? Is it at the beginning, middle, end, or during the entire lesson, or only at the end or review the lesson? Option number one, at the beginning, middle, end, or during the entire lesson is the right answer. Our last and final question is, the following are elements for using technology in education, except it can replace the teacher or problem solving and higher level skills. Option number one, it can replace the teacher is the right answer. Thank you everyone, and congratulations of our top 10 quiz competition winners. On the leaderboard now, the top position is Emily Rufuzio, and the second one is Sonam Yadin, and the third one is Deepa Kunla, and the following be Maria Paso, Ricky Colima, Plomis Albizo, Evelyn Weferi, Yang E. Shea, Pema Lazum, and the last one is Jackie Aparicio. Thank you everyone for your active participation in quiz session. Let's move to our Q&A session. Let's enjoy our video. Welcome back again. Dear participants, this is our question and answer session. You can send your question in our comment box. Ma'am, our first question is, good afternoon, ma'am. What are the primary concerns when using technology to take literature?
Okay. Can I answer it now?
Yes, ma'am, you can answer it.
Yeah. Thank you for Flami Salvizio. My apology if I spell your name incorrectly? Well, the primary concern when we use technology to teach literature is about promoting the engagement and also to provide the easiness of the activities. So, if we look at the principle of technology, technology is a media where it is created for the purpose of assisting the teaching and learning process. So the primary concern when we use technology to teach literature is about how to provide an ease and also practical materials for teaching literature. Hopefully it can answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear participants, if you have any question related this topic, you can ask the question in the comment box. Our speaker are ready to answer the question. So if you have any question related this topic, you can ask the question in the comment box. We are still waiting for your question. And our next question is, when using a poem generator and float generator, how can we assure as teachers that our student made that poem or story?
Thank you for the question, Lorraine. Okay, so the use of poem generator and also plot generator actually is an instrument that can help the students to generate an idea. If we want to have a look on to the way we assess the originality of the works, of course it's not really original. However, by promoting an activity which can make the students interested in writing the poetry as well as the story, it will help them to develop the idea. So the generator of poem and also the plot is mainly used as an trigger or an idea that can inspire students to write their own poetry. So it's a pre-activities that we can provide for the students prior developing their own poetry or story development. Hopefully it answers your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear participants, we are still waiting for your question. Ma'am, our next question is, how can technology modernize our cultural life in this modern dispensation? And what are the important methods of using technology if am in a place?
Thank you for the question, Samuel F. Morris. Okay, how can technology modernize our cultural life in these modern dimensions? And what are the important methods of using technology if in a village? Okay, so basically in Indonesia, we do also have a village. A lot of remote area may have limited access of technology, and we do see that technology may become some issue that need to be addressed by people who are living in a remote area with a very limited bandwidth. So, what are the importance of technology in this sort of situation? We do have believe that technology can help us to promote social justice as well, can also promote the culture. So by using asynchronous model of learning, we may work with limited resources. For example, in Indonesia, we usually have a central for community uh, works where they usually have let's say a limited access of internet. In that resource, students still can learn and get free access materials if we promote technology in teaching. Therefore, uh, the use of technology actually can be used as an instrument to provide resources which may be used for autonomous learner. So everybody, not only in the city but also in the villages, can access the material anytime and anywhere if they can have the access. So technology will create an opportunity for every people in the world to get the education for free. Thank you. That's my answer.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope we have no more questions. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation and sharing your valuable knowledge with us and
Thank
also
you.
sharing your valuable time. Thank you, ma'am. And what is your last and final words for our participants?
Thank you very much for all of the participants and also for the moderator.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Dear participants, our program name is Technology in Teaching Literacy. And today our webinar code is IGP 0909. The code is IGP 0909. Please note that code. And today our program name is Technology in Teaching Literature and the code is IGP 0909. Without code, no one is eligible for certificate. With code, you can claim your certificate anytime from our website. Our website address is eduyzp.com. After downloading your certificate, don't forget to celebrate with IGP tracking. Thank everyone for your active participation in this webinar and make this webinar successful. We hope we'll meet together in our evening session. Thank you everyone. Stay happy, stay safe. See you again.